Welcoming the host of the Late Kick, Josh Pate, the Every Given Saturday tour kicking off in Fayetteville, where Arkansas opens the season with a win over a ranked opponent for the first time since 1975. Josh, KJ Jefferson answers the call against Cincinnati, plays clean football. What'd you see from KJ Jefferson on this Saturday?
Well, first off, Hakeem, I'm just happy to be talking to you because when we talk, that means I'm on the road somewhere and we got college football to discuss. KJ Jefferson, yeah, he had a really good day. He delivered a lot of his known commodities, but, you know, there were times in the second half where I thought maybe there was a false sense of security around here because Arkansas grabbed the early lead. This was never more than a two-possession game, though. Most of the time, it was a one-possession game, and there were some of those moments, especially down the stretch, where they just needed that fall forward, first down yardage. They needed him to take the game on his back. I just came out of Sam Pittman's presser a little while ago, and he echoed that sentiment. He said, I felt like as the game got deeper and we got out into the deep end and we knew that there was no margin for error, he just kind of turned the volume up a little bit. He being KJ Jefferson, he got the job done for us. But I think also, you know, it was a very complimentary effort, and I don't think it could be overstated, Hakeem, how big an impact this crowd had on the game. I don't know that you or I have a system that we can use to quantify that, but man, there were multiple times where Cincinnati's down here in the red zone and they're backing up. There was another time they were in field goal range and crowd noise caused false start after false start and they back up out of field goal range. So KJ Jefferson, and then a nice 1B would be this crowd powering Cincinnati to a win, but a win with a lot to clean up.
So now we need to get you a decibel meter or a sound meter for every stop on the Every Given Saturday tour so you can measure the loudness wherever you are. Because wherever you go, chaos ensues. Except for this Saturday. I mean, Arkansas took care of business. Cincinnati last season, of course, had to run the table to make the CFP. That won't happen this year. What's your biggest takeaway from this game?
I mean, ultra impressive as a program. They played a very flawed game today. There were several overthrows on balls where receivers are free in the secondary, and you're thinking as a coaching staff, that's all we can do. I mean, we scheme them open, and at that point we've got to execute. And if you don't execute with a new quarterback in a very hostile environment, then, okay, you tip your cap to the other side. But I thought it was so noteworthy, Hakeem, that with all those mistakes and all those departures to the NFL, not the least of which was a quarterback and a bunch of guys in their secondary, they're still there on the road, ton of flaws, ton of mistakes, and yet it's a one-possession game. They've got a couple of chances to go down and tie it. They had one chance to take the outright lead in the fourth quarter, and we talked about the response that Arkansas had, but I'm not even talking about team. I'm talking about program, and you're looking at the G5 level, and there's a stereotype about programs at that level and what they should and shouldn't be able to do. You're not supposed to be able to reload that quick. You're not supposed to be able to take your organization on the road in a place like this, which is one of the biggest venues they'll play in during their entire careers, and against a team with this much hype and this much returning talent in their own right in Arkansas. You're not supposed to be able to do all that and hang with them. And yet, I think all week, including pregame when we were talking, when you looked at that point spread, and that thing was not even a touchdown, it was about 6 to 6.5 all week, those odds makers were telling you, hey, just because you don't know those kids' names in that Cincinnati locker room doesn't mean they're not good. I thought even in a loss today with a ton of mistakes, I thought the program validated itself as much as maybe we've seen in the last couple of years, strange though that may sound.
As for Arkansas, Sam Pittman and the Razorbacks coming off a very good season, 9 wins, including a bowl win over Penn State. What's your outlook for Arkansas this season?
Well, it used to be around here that even their best effort came up short. Okay, so now they've shifted into that mode where we kind of nag and complain after an unimpressive win. I can assure you, talking to some of the fans who have been around here a little while, they much prefer this air. It's a little more rarefied instead of the air that they were in, which was just smoggy and gross. And so now they've got a lot to clean up. That was all Sam Pittman and his coaching staff kept talking about. We got a lot to clean up. We got a lot to clean up. But they're chanting our name over here, Hakeem. I just want to pause and point that out. What they have to clean up is, number one, they've got injuries in their secondary. So first and foremost, they had a couple of corners go down, and they've got to get that rectified because we saw several receivers running free in that Arkansas secondary in the second half. That was not reflected on the scoreboard because of overthrows, but there were points to be had there. But the second thing is, listen, this is week one. So there are a lot of teams out there that just flat out lost today and this week. There are going to be other teams, Hakeem, that you and I are sitting here in November talking about as being in the thick of conference title races and playoff races that probably looked horrific today. Iowa looked like they could have played until Tuesday and not gotten over 300 yards total offense. So some of these teams, it's almost a sigh of relief if you get the win to, okay, now we know what we have to work on. But we got a 1 in the dub column. So that's what they took away today. They got a lot to clean up. They've got to get better, obviously. I think their receiver core is probably a little underrated. And I think moving forward, that offense, Kendall Briles, this offensive coordinator, having his quarterback back for the first time ever, I think they're going to hit a stride to where, these scores where they get mid and upper 30s will be a little more frequent around Fayetteville.
The Every Given Saturday Tour kicking off in Fayetteville, where it is success for the Razorbacks, and I'm sure it'll be successful for Josh Pate into the evening there in Fayetteville with all of his friends chanting his name. Great stuff as always, Josh. Appreciate it.